What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Sit Down Saturday, and today we're going to be talking about the rumors and somewhat non-rumors, somewhat evidence and proof that all of the prices are going to be increasing for our beloved toys, specifically with the mainline stuff, and we're going to document it the best that we can and try to get some reasons and explore the whys, right? Something a little heavier and perhaps not the most optimistic topic to think about, but it's something that's happening, so we might as well address it head on, right? This is not going away. It's going to get worse. I'm here to tell you that it is going to get worse, to prepare yourself for it getting worse. We're going to talk about the whys. There are obviously some controversial things going on that play a part into that. I'm going to be doing the best I can to juggle that and try to stay objective, which I think is important to have a conversation about it, instead of planting your flag securely in the ground and fighting for whatever gang you think you're a part of. But before we do that, we want to do a little bit of housekeeping, right? So one thing first and foremost is that the Unicron blankets, I am extending the pre-order by 1 day. Just today, so that I can make one more announcement about it and allow people the opportunity to get in. I'm offering the Sherpa and the woven. The Sherpa at $135 domestically and the woven at $160 domestically. The pre-order closes today. I'll then be working to secure a vendor. I will update everyone with emails as to when to expect it. My guess is that I will be ordering them May at the latest, hopefully the same week at the earliest, depending on what I can find. Anybody who's worked with me before on this stuff knows that I will get it taken care of as quickly as possible. And a big thank you to everybody that's ordered one so far, and obviously a portion of this goes to a charity every year. That charity will be announced later in the year. Next, real quick, the conversation last week about TFC. I didn't thank Andy publicly. I thanked him in the description, but not publicly. I want to take a minute and say, Andy, thank you for a lot of information that you pulled for me in order to get that done and make it, as cohesive and kind of comprehensive and conclusive as possible. I appreciate you and I appreciate your help. And I think that's really it that I have for cleanups, with the exception of the Fireflight from Zeta Toys. How about that face, Mac? Out here looking like a whole bozo. And then the Superion, I did see Mr. Bloom. I know he's just breaking my balls, but say if it's fiddly bits on a Zeta piece, I'm okay with it. Don't get it confused. There's fiddly bits on this, but none of it kind of get in the way of the enjoyment of the figure. It's not like the Magic Square, for instance, where the whole body is coming apart. Now you're talking about trying to resecure a couple little things. There is a difference. Just in the same way there's a difference in the cholesterol in a slice of cheese versus the cholesterol that's in a whole nacho queso dip thing. One is better for you and one is going to be worse for you, right? To reduce it to something absurd. So let's get into this. And this story starts, and it kind of circulates mainly around the main line, but we're going to feel this in third party as well. Third party's not going to be able to escape it. This story really starts in April of 2021 when we got price announcements that increases were coming across the board. We knew that there was going to be a cause and effect relationship with the Bud Ice virus. I call it the Bud Ice virus because if I call it the name of another popular beer, YouTube has a tendency to demonetize my videos, so I'm not doing that. But we knew there was going to be a cause and effect from that, and there was. I don't have all the data here for it, but just to give rough, to compare it to something that was usually about $19.99, it went up to about $22. So $20 became about $22, roughly. And we kind of expected that. But then not too long after that, we got a nasty little rumor from some of our neighbors up north, and I forget the gentleman's name. He has a YouTube video. He looks like a dealer, and he's talking about it. Forgive me. I like this video quite a lot. And there's other people that have covered this as well, Protoman. But a lot of these Canadians have had direct contact with Hasbro, who have informed them that, yes, in fact, price changes are coming. And they've actually given the prices. So we'll take a little bit of a look at them now. And once again, keep in mind, this is Canadian. So deluxes are going from $34 to $36. That's a $2 increase at a 6% markup. Voyagers are going from $45 to $48. That's a $3 increase at a 7% markup. Leaders are going from $73 to $77, a $4 increase at a 5.5% markup. And lastly, your Titan class figures, the big Bahama Mamas, are going from $250 to $265, a $15 increase at a 6% markup. Which is unfortunate, right? But it does seem as though these are going to trickle down a bit, not just from our northern neighbors, but into our borders as well. And perhaps we've already seen evidence of this across the board, but I believe that it started with a DK Guard, which was an Ironhide repaint. That is a deluxe that usually comes in the low 20s, depending on where you shop in the States, but is sitting firmly on Hasbro's website at $24.99. So if we take the higher end of that, the $23 or $22.99, and take it to $24.99, $2 increase, 6% markup. For the Voyagers, we're talking about $32 going up to $35, $3 increase, 7% markup. There's a trend happening. Leaders are going up from 53 to 57, and Titans from 170 to 185. Once again, a $15 increase. So the numbers are staying the same relatively. Now, on top of that, if we consider the mainline deluxe figure to be the kind of standard bread and butter of the line, which everything pivots and deviates from either higher or lower, but that's sort of sitting the middle marketing wave from them, meaning it's affordable but still yields high profits. If that's coming in at $24.99 and we compare that across the board to its contemporaries, we'll notice that Black Series have gone up to $24.99, once again from $22 largely. G.I. Joe Classified, same deal. Marvel Legends, same deal. And even the vintage collection have gone up $1, it seems, which at its lower price point is actually more of a higher increase percentage-wise than most of the other stuff. So the prices are going up, up in a way, because I don't play clown, buck, take that with you on the way down. And that's how I feel the toy industry is treating me these days too. So maybe that's all appropriate. So the next question, therefore, is why, right? And this pretty much breaks down into 3 things. One, the sea containers. Now, I've done a whole video on the sea containers that you can watch right here on the channel about the shipping costs and so forth. That's pretty conclusive and has a ton of information. But to simplify it for the sake of this video to be brief, the average shipping container used to be around $1,300 and now can go up to about 10 grand. That's a 750% increase. Or as we say here at the Cool Table, substantial. Second reason is all the things that surround the transportation, right? We have the boats, we have the fuel for the boats, we have the people that work the dock on both ends. These are additional price going up, especially with the hazards that relate to them health-wise during the couple years past. All of those factors play in. The third component is going to be the raising cost of plastics. Now, plastics have been raising in price for the past 40 years, the same way that almost everything has. This year's no exemption. However, there are things going on in the world that are making this more complicated. Right now, the conflict in Eastern Europe has an effect on fuel lines. When I say lines, I mean specifically lines to the rest of the world to fuel, or in this case, oil. Now, oftentimes, I think we kind of talk vaguely about the connection from oil to plastics, but I don't think that we really zero in on it. And look, I'm no scientist. I'm an idiot. The last thing that I know is compound anything. I'm a very simple person. But I do think it's worth talking about, if not just briefly, to kind of have an overview of how they connect in regard to the process. So first you have the extraction of crude oil. That's the things that look like hammers that swing up and down and bring it out of the ground. At that point, you have to refine that crude oil, which basically means it's boiled, into a number of different options, but the one that we're most concerned with is naphtha. That is broken down into hydrocarbons. Those hydrocarbons are then compressed, refined, and turned into ethylene. We take the ethylene and convert it into polyethylene, where we once again compress it and then cool it, which makes it more dense. From that, you get polyethylene. Once that is combined with antioxidants and stabilizers, you can get polyethylene strips, which are then turned into pellets, packaged, shipped around the world for them to be melted, and used for whatever plastics that we may have. Our beloved collection, but not just that, of course, right? Your mother's Tupperware, same deal. So what happens as a result of all of this, and especially with having to get oil from other places? The prices are going to go up because they have a direct relationship to the raw materials that we are using for our beloved icons. Now, the only perhaps silver lining of all this is that the oil that comes from a larger part of Eastern Europe is known as sour crude oil, which is known for its relatively high sulfur content, which makes it more difficult and costly to refine, causing sour crude to be viewed as a less desirable form of crude oil. Sweet crude oil is kind of the more desirable type, which has a lower sulfur content, but goes for a higher price anyway. But as you can see, regardless of preferred or not, it's having an impact globally. And Hasbro's not the only ones doing it, right? NECA has recently announced a $5 to $10 increase across the board of their entire production line. Mattel has also suggested the same. Now, not all of them feel the same way about it. Mattel has actually expressed that they are expecting for the people to kind of follow them because they're excited about a lot of the projects they have coming down the pipeline. You see what don't you worry about what I'm doing here. However, Hasbro has suggested in times that they are not as optimistic, that they know that there's a direct correlation from people jumping off of a product from a price increase. Because let's not get this confused for 1 second. This is not a price increase that gives you higher quality product or more accessories. Sometimes we've often talked about that here. You know, charge me a couple more bucks give me a couple more hand options, give me a couple more weapons, give me a couple more paint apps, etc., etc. This is not that. This is inflation. This is things costing more to produce and us having to foot the bill in order for their profit margins to remain the same or not, or if not the same, increase, right? That's how business works. Now, sometimes those things are just a constant increase of price, cost, and production, right? Other times, there's an extreme circumstance at hand, like say a global thing that would cause it. And you get a sea container that goes from $1,300 to $10,000. While that will probably level off at some point, and you can kind of see evidence of it already starting to happen, what won't happen is it going back to $1,300 anymore. Because now they learned it doesn't have to be. Let's say I was selling something. Let's say it was a Unicron blanket. That's quite nice, and the pre-order's in today. If I'm selling the Sherpa blanket for $135, but something happens to cotton, and we have to increase the cost of the blanket to $235, and it is successful, but then the price of cotton comes down, two things happen. One, I don't have to charge that extreme amount, but two, I realized that my product was worth more than I was selling it for in the first place because it was still moving numbers. And that's probably what's going to happen with a lot of these sea containers specifically, but perhaps even other things, perhaps even the cost of plastics, is that manufacturers and producers will realize that they could charge more for the item, bring it down a bit and be a hero, but still have a net gain and make money. So I would expect for prices to kind of be on the gradual increase for the next couple years. Now the good news is that we didn't really feel the effects of the previous incident until April of this or last year. So maybe we get another year before another increase, but it doesn't seem that way because the increases have already started kind of happening. But maybe they won't come in stock, stuff like that. Who's to say? One thing that is for sure is going to get worse before it gets better. If it gets better at all. Happy Saturday! Enjoy your weekend. I wish I had something more optimistic and uplifting to tell you. I don't. There's a number of factors that are having huge impacts on our hobby at the moment. The good news is those impacts aren't as huge as some of the people that have had to deal with some of these issues around the world. Remember to keep it in perspective, folks. I'll be back next week with new videos across the board, including something fresh and fun on Friday, I hope. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.